welcome back to my channel. I'm Sam Zagar. I'm going to be talking to you today about anxiety, but through a very specific place in the body graph. There are 3 different centers in the body graph, 3 out of 9 centers that are considered to be awareness centers. The first one is the spleen, and the awareness that comes from it is the awareness of fear, what to be afraid of in order to survive. The second awareness center that we developed evolutionary wise was the ajna. Now, this one is about being anxious, and it's anxious over all time, awareness over all time. Sounds pretty terrible, to be honest. And then the third awareness center, which is still developing, it's still in transitus, it's currently mutating, it's the solar plexus. Now, this one is about emotional intelligence in a wave. So the 3 awareness centers are the spleen, the ajna, and the solar plexus. The feelings, really, that they give us to keep us aware are fear, anxiety, and nervousness. I'm going to talk about anxiety today. I definitely have struggled with this. I think everybody on the planet has struggled with some level of anxiety. Knowing how to help yourself when you're feeling anxious, there are so many options out there for ways to try and make yourself feel better, try and regulate, try and calm down, whatever you're trying to do to make yourself feel more comfortable in this bioform, in this incarnation. I'm going to talk a little bit about what these specific anxieties are so that you can pinpoint yours a little bit, well, more specifically. I'm going to go through the gates. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is gate 47, and it has a fear of futility. Now, if you're trying to understand why gate 47 has a fear of futility, as in a fear that life is futile, where does that fear come from? The most important part of trying to figure this out is the circuitry. When we're looking at gate 47, it's half the channel of abstraction. The channel of abstraction, there's a clue in that name, is part of abstract collective circuitry, which has a keynote of sharing. And so this gate 47, when I'm looking at kind of what's the framework of this gate, it's reaching for the head center. It's abstract collective circuitry. It wants to share. Really, abstract stuff comes with this kind of a predicament of it doesn't make sense until after the fact. That's very different from logical collective circuitry, which has the ability to predict what's going to happen because there's a scientific method involved. It's let's lay out the framework for the experiment, let's run the experiment, let's change some variables, let's test and prove this logical information. Whereas abstract collective isn't tested and proven, it's experiential. You go have an experience, and then you make sense of it after the fact. We can understand why when you don't understand something until after it's happened, until after you've processed what's gone on, you might be going like there's a bit of a bang in your head against the wall of this is futile. Thinking is futile. Processing is conceptualing is futile. There's this point of like wanting to give up. But you have to remember that within this circuitry, things don't make sense until after the fact. So if they don't make sense to you right now, wait. Patience is going to be a huge part of this. Now, if I move over into gate 24, I'm in individual circuitry, and I have a fear of ignorance, which is really a fear of not knowing. Now, individual circuitry has a keynote of empowerment. And there's a phrase for individuals. It's either I know or I don't know. I know or I don't know. Now, if you're an individual and your binary is I know or I don't know, one of those fears that's going to be inside of you is the fear that you're never going to know, that you're going to stay ignorant. That's very uncomfortable. Now, if I move over again into gate 4, this would be part of the channel of logic. It's reaching up to gate 63 in the head center. Gate 4 is a fear of chaos. Now think about this. It's half the channel of logic. What is logical? Logical things are predictable. Predictable things are relatively comfortable. If something is unpredictable and uncomfortable, it's chaotic. We can understand how there is a fear in the ajna that life is chaotic and it's never going to make sense. It's never going to make logical sense. Now, if I move down into gate 17, there's a cross that kind of happens with circuitry here. I'm still in logical collective circuitry, and it's a fear of being challenged. We've said that logical collective circuitry has to prove its information. What happens if it can't be proven? What happens if it's challenged and it can't be proven? It all falls apart. That's the fear. You got to think with the ajna, like the core fear is the not self theme, which is thinking you need to be certain, this fear that you're never going to be sure, you're never going to be certain. So all of these anxieties live within the gates. Now I move over into gate 43. We're back in individual circuitry. We have a fear of rejection. This is half the channel of structuring. This is kind of called the genius to freak channel. That word freak is a little like, ooh, do I want to be seen as the genius or do I want to be seen as the freak? Most people are going to take the genius, right? So the freak side is this, they don't understand me. They don't get me. They don't know what I'm trying to say. So there's a huge fear of rejection that lives in gate 43. All individuals are afraid of being rejected for what they are. There is a huge, like, they feel foreign, they feel alien, they feel very different. Individual circuitry feels kind of alone. It feels individual. It feels kind of separate from everybody else. So there are feelings of melancholy, which people often mistake for depression, but there are these very deep, uncomfortable feelings that belong to all individual circuitry. So the channel of structuring has this not self anxiety of being rejected for being seen as a freak. But if you have individual mutative knowing that feels kind of freaky, it's not that you're a freak, it's that you're meant to give that information to the person who's smart enough to recognize that you have it. You want someone to go, ooh, they have something very cool in them. Let me ask them for that. You can also consider the fact that this is a projected channel. And actually, you could consider the fact that every single channel coming off of the Ajna Center is a projected channel. Just in that, think about that underlying fear. Will I be successful? Will I be asked? Will I be recognized? Will I be invited? Will I be asked to guide and to share my wisdom with people? That Ajna, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's very uncomfortable. Now, the last gate to go over is gate 11. It's a gate of ideas. What is the most common symbol for an idea? Light bulb. What is the not self anxiety of gate 11? Fear of darkness. And it's not actual darkness, it's no ideas. It's nothing to share. It's nothing to experience. It's nothing to consider. It's almost this void or this emptiness. Look at your body graph. Is your ajna defined or undefined? And how's that going to change how you feel about this? Look at any of the gates that you have off of it. Are they full channels or are they hanging gates? Are they active? Are they dormant? Are they conscious? Are they unconscious? What is the circuitry it belongs to? Now, I want you to think about what's missing for circuitry in the ajna. We had collective, we had individual. We're missing tribal. There's a splenic center that is an awareness center, and there was also a solar plexus that's an awareness center. Both of those other awareness centers have all three major circuit groups: tribal, collective, and individual. The ajna doesn't. The ajna doesn't have tribal circuitry, which means there's nothing supportive about the ajna. Something to consider. All right. That was a different one and wordy. I'll see you next week.